Hi everyone, I'm Sud, CEO at Impress AI. Welcome to Hiring Diaries, the definitive resource for best practices for hiring managers, HR, and recruiting professionals. Today, our guest is Jeremy Bingham. Jeremy is the Global Talent Acquisition Lead at Allianz Partners. Today, our topic of discussion is employer branding. And just to set some context before you hear Jeremy, a recent survey by LinkedIn showed that 90% of job candidates wanted to know more about the company culture, perks, mission. Those are the top 3 items that candidates want to know more about. In today's candidate-driven market, no serious business can afford to ignore employer branding. I hope Jeremy agrees with me, but let's learn from him more. He's a big proponent of employer branding as a talent attraction strategy. Jeremy, we'd love to learn more from you today. Let's start by getting to know you. Why don't you start by describing your role at Allianz Partners?
Of course. Hi, everyone. So my name is Jeremy Bingham, and I'm the Global Talent Acquisition Lead at Allianz Partners, as Sud had mentioned. Allianz Partners is part of the larger Allianz brand, and ultimately for my role, I'm responsible for the overall global strategy for what recruitment means for us as a business. So the talent attraction strategies, employer branding, our employee value proposition, and how that may differentiate from us as the Allianz traditional insurance brand, and really lead the overall recruitment strategy on how we select, nominate, and source candidates for our positions.
That's great to hear. And having a leader for something like this, I think has become very, very important today. But just digging a little bit deeper, how's your journey been moving from your early days in sales into talent acquisition?
Yeah, it's been certainly a great transition, actually. So when we talk about sales, I was actually joining a call center. So I was with a telecommunications company in Australia in a call center, which then sort of progressed me into moving into HR. So I did leadership roles. I then moved into sort of a training and learning and development role. And I did that because I could see that people were getting onto the floor as a leader and they weren't, trained with the right skills to be able to support our customers. And really, it really came from that customer service focus that I had. I then had the opportunity to move into recruitment, and for me, I saw that the passion there was the opportunity to have greater impact. So instead of training 20 people every given month, I'm able to make sure that those 20 people that were hired were the right people for the role. And then naturally my career grew from there. So I then took on more national roles, leadership roles, joining Allianz Partners almost 5 years ago. And that's now led me to the global role within the global office of Allianz.
Wow, that's been one heck of a journey.
Yeah.
What do you think were the most, the key events or key experiences that shaped you for your current role?
Yeah, it's a really great question. So I got the opportunity to come into recruitment actually from a previous leader of mine who identified that I had that right, customer orientation. And it wasn't about serving the customers, but I could see that what we do as recruitment or in learning and development or HR impacts our overall experience to the customer. So it was being open to someone identifying something in me was really critical. Otherwise, I may not have taken the opportunity. So someone calling out what are my strengths was really important. I was actually a very introverted person, when I had grown up. So being a recruiter is very much about not so much extroversion, but, being able to talk in any situation and to talk with passion and great energy. So I think being open to the opportunity was firstly important. The second I would call out would be, finding mentors across the business has really been helpful for me. So it hasn't been always my direct leader. It's been people in, various different roles that may not even be HR related, but I've learned from leaders who are expert leaders, or I've learned from HR professionals to understand, the correlation from recruitment to HR and, understanding what that process is and how we can, improve the overall process. So that would be the 2 things that I would call out firstly.
I think there are some great tips in there. And moving on to our topic of today, what does employer branding mean to you?
It's a great question. For me, it's very much about the reputation of the business as a place to work and as an employee value proposition. Why would someone want to work for your business, and really marketing that to the market or the employment space?
Is it really? Do you see it more as a marketing role or as kind of a, going back to your days from, say, as a recruiter, do you see parallels between the two?
Yeah, definitely. So firstly, I think, for an employee value proposition or employer branding, it firstly starts with understanding what the market wants. why a candidate may be attracted to the brand, or why they may be open to looking for a new opportunity. And really, it's just the same as sales, identifying what is the need and then really responding to that, tailoring what is your video or what is your brand to the market. So it really starts with what is the gap, right? What is the talent that you're looking? What is the candidate or the demographic that you're looking to attract? And then building back from that. So very much is, related to sales.
Yeah, that gives us an opportunity to dive a little bit deeper into maybe some framework. So, I mean, you described a process there, you hinted at a process there, having an ICP almost, finding the gaps. Is there a sort of framework that you have developed or you follow at Allianz, depending on what you can reveal, of course? What is the process, or what does the process look like? Where do you start from and think backwards?
It's a great question. And this is always a work in progress for us, Sud. So again, we are a part of the larger Allianz brand. To the market, we identify as one brand, which is great because it's a very old business and everyone knows us around the world for the most part. What we're trying to create now, though, is our separation. What is our unique identifier? And, for Allianz partners, we are 20,000 people, around the world across 35 offices. But our main difference as part of the Allianz group is that we are service orientated, meaning we're a service product that we sell insurance or non-traditional assistance products, right? So 70% of our workforce is frontline staff in a call center environment, which is very different to our colleagues in the different global lines. So for us, we've needed to identify, again, what is that candidate? What is that success profile? What is that demographic that we're looking at hiring? Now, traditionally for us, that is more of the younger generation. So we've needed to look at what are the important things of why someone would look at joining our business, who may be, for the most part, non-skilled, non-qualified, or, we're open to considering them, of course, but looking at taking opportunities to build a career within a business. So we really looked at fundamentally for this demographic, they're really interested in learning and development. They're interested in growth and opportunity and growing with the business for the most part. Now, gone are the days that a candidate will stay with the business for 15, 20 years. So we also need to appreciate they're only with us for a period of time. The opportunities that we may be able to offer them are also fairly limited as well. So we need to be very honest and truthful about that. So for us, we're really trying to shape and market that it may only be a 3-year career, but during that 3 years, we'll give you the soft skills, the hard skills, the technical skills in order for you to grow and develop for your next opportunity if it's not with us. So it's the appreciation of knowing that that is okay and that is the norm now that what we see in the market. We've also identified that, with this particular demographic, that work-life balance is important, them to have a fun culture and a great culture to work with, both with their peers, their managers, and, we work in a very matrixed organization. So with them, understanding the strategy of their business is really important. So we tried to really tie that into our employer branding videos. So the culture and, tying in our strategy, and that we're a service business fundamentally. And so we're trying to look at giving examples of how we support our customers every day.
This must all require quite a bit of investment, I would imagine. So how do you make a business case and convince the business of the ROI?
It was a great question. So again, we looked at the problem. So the problem that we had were we weren't really attractive in the market. And this is a holistic, generalized, response here. But, again, for a business which is 125 years old, whilst our division isn't, Allianz as a brand is, and because we are one brand to market, for the younger demographic, it really actually was a detractor for most people. You're looking at a very old business and identifying, well, how do I bring my technology and my technical skills to this type of role? Or, we're competing with the likes of, Meta and Facebook and Google here in Germany and across the different countries. So for us, we looked at, okay, we started to see our numbers decrease when it came to attraction. So posting a job and then the number of reactive applications really did decrease. So that became our problem statement in identifying, okay, we need to resolve this. And we put together, really voices from around the world, from our employees, talking about our culture, talking about our attributes or our values as an organization and what it means to them and why they chose Allianz Partners originally and why they choose to stay. So look, to be honest, we kept it very minimal for the most part. We did it very quickly, very reactively. But I think the employee branding needs to be that. It needs to be iterative. It's not just one video per year or one video for the next 5 years. It's multiple videos at any given time and iterating as you go. So for us, we did it very quickly in order to respond to the need.
And then you were able to show the impact from that continuously. How did that translate to impact from there?
Yeah, look, we got a lot more traction and interactions on particularly our social media platforms, which is really engaging. Now, for the most part, look, we were transitioning to a new recruitment system, so I haven't really seen the full impact of what was versus what is now in terms of that attraction strategy. But we have seen some movement in some of the countries we really struggled with. We were doing a lot more, strategic sourcing and proactive approaching in the market, and now we're not needing to do that as much, though that is still the need. Again, mixed with the current climate of COVID and employment rates, it is quite a challenging time. So that's where we're now looking at reviewing and iterating again.
That's clear ROI in the sense that when you're having to do less proactive outreach, and you're getting better response rates to inbound, I think that's very clear ROI. Do you have like a target, like cost per hire reduction or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, this year will be a baseline with us because we are moving into a new recruitment system. We certainly do. What we are looking at is in terms of cost per hire, more so providing enabling technology for our recruiters to really refocus them into the social media and the employer branding at a local, regional, and global level, building content that, again, as I mentioned, not just one video per year, but ongoing content where you can really share what is the day in the life of each of the different roles that we have in the business. So, I think this year will be very expensive for us buying a lot of that technology and integrating it into our process. But I think at the end of the day, what that will mean and result into is that we will reduce the need to go to agencies for the most part. There will still be roles that we'll need to engage for them to support us, but for the most part, we will see a significant decrease in agency spend. And also, the spend that we have currently on temps, supporting us with strategic sourcing or with interviewing because our teams have, focused on strategic sourcing.
That's that's a great segue into the role of technology in employer branding, and I know that you're experimenting a lot from our previous conversations, and experimenting carries risks, and based on our interactions, I really do see your team and yourself being kind of at the forefront. So of course, certain things will take a different course than you want them to, but what is your vision in terms of what role does technology play in employer branding?
Yeah, it's huge, right? Because employer branding can be expensive. A lot of us do go to agencies and creative agencies with a lot of videographers and photographers to be able to manage the edits and manage that end production. There's some really good tools out there, and one of my favorite is Video My Job, which ultimately transitions what is a written text of a job ad to video. And so the hiring manager can get on the other side of that video and talk about what is the job, what is they looking for, what is the day in the life of that particular role, which then builds connection to that candidate, and that candidate may be attracted to it, want to work for this particular manager. So I really enjoy that type of product. That extends to then, as I mentioned, be able to create videos every day because it allows you to embed branding on each video without the need to go to a creative agency or use very technical people to be able to do that. So it makes, for what is a very difficult, costly exercise, very simple for any recruiter to use.
Yeah, I think for the TikTok generation that can make a big difference. I love that example. What are some of the other best examples of employer branding that have inspired you?
Yeah, it's a great question, Sudhna. I had to re-look at these because, again, each video does change every year. One of my favorites of all time, and I saw this about 2 or 3 years ago, was Adidas. So Adidas has the benefit that it is kind of a young and creative brand that, it does attract a lot of people. But it was a very, I'm sure very costly, but very simple video. And they walked through a campus across multiple campuses around the world, and they just stopped what looked like an everyday employee and asked them about why they joined Adidas. And it was everyday questions that related to everyday people. It showed diversity. It actually had this high energy of music as well, which just made it very engaging to watch and listen to. But it was also, whilst they were walking through the campus having everyday discussions, it was the video of their campus was amazing, and that was attracting to any person, right? That may not be working in that environment at the moment. So it was simple, but very effective in my mind. And I've looked to replicate that, to be honest, though the video I don't think exists any longer. A few others that I found this morning, Netflix was just very simple. It was an interview, very simple, talking about, how they behave, this culture of not everyone may remain with Netflix, and this so-called passing keepers test that they do. And it was really just interactive, giving everyone an insight in terms of the business. Another one I found this morning was GE, which is again a very old business. It's a 125-year-old business. And they brought humility and humor into their videos. So it was this son sitting down with his parents explaining that he's got a job with GE, and the parents get out this hammer from downstairs, which is their great-grandfather's, that he used to build some type of technology in the past. And the son said, no, I'm a coder. I now code what is the new technology of the future. The parents were very confused, and the parents said, well, you can't lift the hammer, can you? And it was just very basic, but it talked around how now GE is transformed into this very technology-driven business. And again, we all still see GE as finance, or a finance provider, or, we forget that they are energy, they are, aircraft, they are so much more than just finance. So it was really interesting and really engaging, ultimately.
I love that example. In fact, all those three examples, I think we're going to put a link in the description. Lovely. What do you think are some of the lower hanging fruits? I mean, these campaigns sound amazing, and of course, large companies can afford to do that. But even at large companies, some HR professionals may struggle to make a case around employer branding. What do you think are the lower hanging fruits that don't cost a lot?
It's a great question, Sud. And again, it's also time restraints, right? So we as recruiters, our core job is to actually manage the recruitment and source and, go through that selection process. So in most cases, we lack time. One of my team that does this really well, and I'm sure there's multiple teams, but one that I see quite engaging on social media is my Mexican team in Mexico. They use their mobile phone and just simply walk through the call center. So it's very basic, it's very raw, but again, for the candidate market, it's very engaging. They can relate to it. It's not all this makeup, production, hair, and the rest of it. It is just very simple. And they create content almost on a weekly basis, and that's as simple as it is. I don't think it's edited. There's no highlights, there's no lighting, there's no hair or makeup. It's just simply someone walking through the call center, seeing how fun and engaging that culture is. And I think that's all it needs to be. If you don't have the expense, you don't have the time, and you may not get success with that business case. And I think that's as simple as it needs to be.
Yeah, I think enabling people who would want to do this already, who are active on social media. And I mean, it seems like to some people it comes naturally to it, doesn't to me. But yeah. I think everybody's got their thing, and encouraging them to just explore it. It might be a little bit risky, but then you discover so many new things and unlock new opportunities.
Definitely. And everyone has a smartphone. Everyone has a video now on their phone. Everyone has the ability. You don't need to be in front of the camera. You just need to interact with those who are willing to put themselves in front of a camera in the market. Definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. How are you developing your experience in this area? Because there's no playbook to this, right?
No, there's not. And, when I was in the role in Australia, we also had this great issue as well. We were competing with a lot of people in the market that were, offering greater salaries or offering greater experiences. So what we looked at is I actually formed, working with my recruitment partners in the Brisbane market, particularly, and in Australia, of creating this industry roundtable. So creating, I guess, connection with my peers who are recruitment experts, and really solving everyday problems that we all had. And, the problem at the time I had was I needed to fix employer branding, or at least, do something in the market, which we weren't doing, and I had no money. So, we roundtabled that idea to understand, okay, what is the low hanging fruit that we can do now to be able to turn around that attraction strategy? So I think it's the appreciation, sort of knowing that you don't need to be the expert of everything in recruitment. And employer branding is tied into marketing, and by definition, that's really the role that we need to play in the future. We're marketers to be able to market roles to candidates, whether that's through employment branding and videos and such. So it's reaching out to your experts to actually get that understanding of what they might be doing, what they have done, and also reach out to your marketing team as well. They have this experience, they have these qualifications. They may even be able to provide you the tools that they use for their communication and branding to be able to get that across the line.
So from there, do you see that there's a trend of, more marketing techniques or more advanced marketing techniques moving into employer branding as well?
Very much. Again, if I come back to the problem that we might have as a business is there's certain demographics we might not be attracting. There's certain roles or talent that we might not be attracting. So this pulls into the geo-targeting of social media and how to particularly market in a particular location, or how you attract a certain person like on LinkedIn with a certain skill or a certain qualification or a certain background. So these are things we don't learn as recruiters, but it's really important to work with our experts in marketing to be able to understand that more, so that we also don't need them to manage it. We can manage it ourselves with their guidance and with their support and training.
I think we've discovered quite a few aspects of employer branding. Are there any key pillars of employer branding that stand out for you that have been critical to building this entire strategy?
It's a great question. Look, for me, I think it's really important, firstly, to use everyday language. So again, we all want to use our values of the organization and our behaviors, but it's about what does that mean for the market? What does that mean for someone externally? So it's really, for me, using everyday language and no buzzwords, right? Because again, the buzzwords can detract certain candidates going, oh, this is just another business, that thinks customer centricity is important, but you really need to show that in your videos. I think sharing diversity is really important as well. And that's not just, a different background, but it's also diversity of thinking. It could be culturally, it could be, LGBTQ+, it could be a race of any different background, ethnicity. I think it's really, really important to share that in a video. And I think that's what the market is looking for. Even if that person doesn't identify from a certain background or group, they still want to see diversity in the people that they might want to work with. And then lastly, of course, is making sure you understand what that talent or demographic is looking for. Why would they be looking at moving, or why would they join your organization? What is important to them? What's in it for them?
So I hear a lot of targeted approaches, I guess. I mean, in the 4 pillars you mentioned, it's really about knowing which target group you're going after and what problem you're trying to fix, and tailoring your messaging to that. I love that. And I guess just as a final question, do you have advice for early career HR professionals? Like, you found your way, you found your specialization. What do you think more, I guess, early career HR professionals should be looking at?
Definitely. And probably leaning on my own experience, I think it's always about being open to learn new things. Technology is the future of HR as well. So what we do today versus what we'll do in 5 to 10 years, it will really be technology driven. There will be technology that will replace a lot of what we do as recruitment or in HR today. So we really need to shift maybe our soft skills, and being open to, receiving constructive feedback on how we can grow and develop is really important. I say push and challenge yourself as well. So for me, as I mentioned, I was an introverted, very quiet person as I was going through schooling. So I really, in my career, put myself in a position where I needed to challenge myself. So the things that I knew that I wasn't good at, I put myself into roles where it forced me to be this, much more outgoing person and much more extroverted person as well. So it sort of forced me to develop myself. And I think it's really important to be in that environment where you're uncomfortable, to be able to challenge and learn from it. It is really important. And then the last is look for a mentor. So naturally, every business will offer you an internal mentor, but it's really important to find someone externally in the market that you identify and relate to as well. Again, could be in your industry or may not be in your industry. Again, technology is really a big driving factor in HR. So find someone who may be a technology expert, or find someone who you identify to be a strong people leader if that's the path you want to go down.
That's some great advice right there. Thank you so much, Jeremy. It's been fantastic talking to you. Thanks for sharing your wisdom and making time for this.
Of course, and thank you.